Hello today. So today I'm going to be tying a mouse, a small baby mouse, on a size 12, one extra long, one extra strong. Um, I've had a few people request this and ask me to tie this, so I'm going to do that. I'm using Unimano. It's a double aught 4, and I like this. I think it spins deer hair really well. So we're going to go ahead and start this and lay down a little thread base here. I'm also going to be using a squirrel zonker for the tail. I was using silly legs and various other things, trying them out, all that kind of stuff, and I think this will be a little more natural looking and hold up really well to the fish. I had some opinions about the silly legs and things like that as a tail that won't hold up, and I think I agree with them. So one thing I will tell you though, on a couple of them that I've tied, it is not easy to spin deer hair on these zonkers. So I'm going to tie this to the back and super glue it down with some Zap-A-Gap, and tie it really tight so that I'm not trying to spin deer hair all the way down the body. That did not work out very well. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and just a touch of super glue, because again, we want the hair to be able to spin on there. So we're just going to do just a touch there, just to kind of help anchor that down. All right, I think that'll work. Now I'm going to run my thread back up to the front here, and we're going to tie in some eyes. And I'm using a medium black, basically chain, those chain eyes. Sorry, camera's on a different side this time, so they're just a medium black chain eye. And yes, they look big, but if you typically look at mice, their eyes are big. So we're just going to tie that in. Oops, got my finger stuck there. And make sure that they're centered, and they are towards the head of the fly. Do some figure eights here. Wrap it in there really tight. And it will have a tendency to spin, but we will lock that in with some Zap-A-Gap again here. Let me just make sure it's kind of where I want it. Oop, I just snapped off my thread. And that's a no-no. Hate when I do that. So we'll just start it on there again. Make sure we tight strip that down. All right. There we go. Okay, that'll be good. And then of course we'll have hair in front of that too, just a little bit though, because we don't want to cover up the point of the hook. All right, so now we just start stacking deer hair. Now this is going to take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and stack this. I'm going to get it going, show you a couple times, and then I'll edit the video so that you're not watching me stack deer hair for 10 minutes. All right, so we'll start out with a clump, about the size of a pencil, maybe a little less, 2/3 of a pencil. And get a little brush here and clean out all the fuzz. Sorry for that noise in the background. We're doing a little remodeling at our house, and that happens to be the washing machine that's a little bit unlevel. little TMI there, but anyway. So I don't worry about stacking it or trimming the tips off or anything like that, because it's all going to get trimmed up. So run this to the back there, and then I do one loose wrap, get in position, and then as I'm pulling the second wrap, I start to tie, and as I spin, I let go, let the hair spin, and it always seems to get tangled up a little bit in the back here because of the hook, because of the hook gap. So just take your bodkin and kind of work it out a little bit there so it spins around freely and trims up nice, and you don't have that mess back there. And then just make sure that spins on around. Alright, that's always the hardest part right there, is that first set. And then I just kind of work my thread through, bring it up, kind of build a little Thread dam right there. Get some more. And we keep doing this until it gets all the way to behind the eyes there. I'm guessing this will probably be 3 or 4 clumps of hair to spin around there. I will show you the hair stacker that I'm using, or I'm sorry, not the stacker, the packer, the hair packer, whatever you want to call it. This one's going to be a little bit, you guys are probably familiar with it, but I use a couple of different kinds, but this particular kind works great, especially on this fly, because we have eyes on there, and my normal Stonfo hair stacker or hair packer won't work. So I use these little guys right here, which work well because you can just put them right behind the eyes, push, stack it nice and tight, run the thread back, get a little thread down there, and then we get more. And this is messy. I don't know if you guys ever stack hair and cut hair and trim hair and do all that, but it's messy. At least for me, it's messy. Okay. Get the next clump. Loose wrap. Tight wrap. Oops. Tight wrap. I squeeze. And then spin it. Kind of spin it through. Again, stack it back behind the eyes, kind of push, there we go. Got to kind of work it a little bit there. Okay, push the hook up a little bit, there we go. All right, bring that to the front. One more little stack of it here. Sorry, one more clump. Okay, brush it out. Bring that on top. Loose wrap. Tight wrap and pull. This one won't quite spin as much because of the eyes, which is fine. We don't actually want as much hair on the bottom anyway, so because we end up cutting that all off. All right, I'm just going to use my hands a little bit, pack that in. We'll bring that thread up to the front of the eyes, and then we're going to use just a little tiny clump here on the front. About half of what we just used, because we don't have a lot of room. So brush it out. Okay, it's just a little bit smaller, as you can see. We just take this 1, 2, and just spin that one around. Kind of pack it a little bit. Get the eye of the hook right there. Pack it just behind that, so you got that sticking out. Basically, it looks like a nose. Nose of the mouse. Wrap your threads around there. Okay, then we get a whip finish. Doesn't matter if you catch the threads or the hairs or anything in there when you're whip finishing it and all that, because it all gets trimmed up. So I'll just do 3 or 4 good whip finish there, and my thread just broke, which let me double check, make sure that's got it okay. It did. Pulling a little hard. All right. You see we got just a big ball of hair there. So now I just kind of fluff it up a little bit, take my comb, fluff it up all around the eyes there, make sure there's everything's spun around. Kind of combing it out around the eyes. You can see that there's some of it there that's spun around the eyes. We can just pick that out. Okay, make sure they're all picked around this one. Okay, got a bit of a odd one going there. We're just gonna grab it with our bodkin and pull it out. There we go. Okay, kind of pick that all out, brush it around. All right, so now I'll put the tail back there so I don't cut it off. Now I got this little handy dandy tool here for my razor blade. I don't know if you can really see it there, but it's pretty cool. I just got this not too long ago, so it's great for trimming hair. You just tighten it down. As you can see, it makes a nice curve. So typically what I do is start on the bottom, because that's going to be your shortest. So I can see the bottom of my hook right there, and I just push back all the way to the end of the hook. Just start there, because that gives me a good starting point on how short. Okay, then I just rotate a little bit, push back, and I can always take more off, but you can never put more on, so it's always hard to do that. So I just do a little bit at a time here. A little bit at a time. Kind of angle it back a little. Angle the front just a touch. A little bit more towards the back there. Okay. All right. I angle this a little bit. I don't do too much with the razor blade right off the bat. Mostly it's just getting the initial cuts. Sorry, my fingers are in the way there and everything. Get the initial cuts like that, and then I switch to my scissors, because some people can sit there and do the whole thing with a razor blade. I'm not quite that talented. So now I switch to the scissors. And again, I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me trim this, because I'm kind of a perfectionist. Well, I'm not very good at it, but I sit there and I'll trim for days. So of course I'll speed this up and everything and edit this out. Just kind of get all the long ones as we start taking shape here. Get it trimmed around the eyes. pull it off the vise a little bit here so I can trim up some of the underneath here. You can see it a little better. Okay, back in the vise. Okay. I know we can sit here and do this all day, trimming this thing. So at some point I just got to stop, because I'm never going to get it perfect. So at least perfect for me. Get the eyes a little more rounded off. Okay, good enough for now. For this one anyway. We're just catching fish, right? Just need it to look like a baby mouse. Now the tail, that's a little long for the tail, so I'll end up cutting the tail off just a little bit. About there. Okay. Now one last thing I do, I grab a lighter and I just do a quick singe. And I'll show you why. Other than the smell of burnt hair stinks. Okay. So it puts a little bit dark to it, and it kind of singes hair. If you guys have ever, which I'm sure you have, smelt that singed hair, and or not smelt it, but felt that singed hair, kind of seals the tips a little bit and melts any fuzz out of there and anything like that. So there you have it. The baby mouse. Oh, we got a little bump there. I don't like that bump. We got a little hunchback going here. We're going to take that down. Yeah, that'll work. We're going to go with that. All right, there you have it. Baby mouse. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe if you have any suggestions or anything you'd like me to see. Thank you, guys.